So let's record this thing. Okay. So coming over here to the table and having a seat. All right. Trying to find a place where I'm centered on the camera, sort of, to talk about this stuff. So over the weekend, I took a deep dive into mask making. And once again, my interest as a designer is to try to go from something that is effective and yet very industrial looking, like this kind of a mask, to something that is perhaps a little bit easier to wear and more comfortable to wear, and yet something that isn't still industrial looking or possibly clinical looking. I think that the idea of design and fashion can actually help make this thing work in society, in the greater culture as we go forward, because we want to develop a culture of mask making and mask wearing to try to knock down the virus and to open up our public institutions once again. So I had a whole bunch of, ideas and stuff, but really when I started to look at the instructional videos over the weekend, especially looking on YouTube for best mask designs and very best mask designs, people are already doing a lot of innovating in terms of trying to refine the mask construction and mask design concept so that it fits really good to the face. A lot of these people have been sewing masks for the healthcare industry and providing them to healthcare workers to try to help backfill a need and a lack of supply for healthcare masks, which is great. But I think we can take it a step further as designers. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. One of the first designs that I played with over the weekend was trying to come up with a mask concept that was a little bit more of a tailored and sculpted kind of a mask that would actually kind of conform to the face. Now I had sewn this thing, and this was supposed to be the top of the mask that came up, to give a nice scallop feature for my eyeballs, and this was going to fit on my nose. I wanted this to wrap back towards my ears just a little bit further so that I could do the ear loop feature for hanging the mask on me, and I wanted it to come down to a point that was going to cover my chin. So I made this as a prototype, and I fit it to my face, and it didn't fit. Okay, so the points that wrap around back to my ears are way too low on my ears. And so when the mask is on, it doesn't fit because I want this up here instead of down here. So I had to kind of work with patterns, and I was creating paper patterns to try to make this work. And I had to go through a little bit of change and evolution, trial and error as I was trying to get paper patterns to match. And so I came up with another design, and this one was working much better. Now this is a little bit bigger, and so it fits my face a little too big, and so I'm still trying to refine the design so that it actually fits the contours of the face. It works, but anyway, it's the same kind of a concept. I used black as the outside piece for the mask, for the outside pieces. I used a contrasting color just so that people could see inside versus outside. Before I got into using a sewing machine, I was using fabric glue, and in this case it was an iron-on fabric tape that I was using to just kind of fold over and glue with the iron my edges and my seams to construct this thing together. So I had two pieces for the inside liner of the mask, two pieces for the outside cover of the mask, and then had to figure out a way to put that stuff all together. It goes on with ear loops like this. Okay, and again, this is fitting me better. It kind of, it gets up to right where the ear wants to be, and then there's a loop that goes around the ear. It comes up to the nose and provides a pretty good fit and seal for air and stuff, and it comes under the chin to provide a little bit better fit and seal for air. Now, a couple of the innovations that I was playing with here, I tried using hair ties to be the ear loops, and I found, like Zoe pointed out on Friday, that the hair ties, hurt, and they bend the ear cartilage, and that doesn't work. But I did find that a black shoelace made out of cotton, that is a fairly large shoelace, like a bootlace, but a fairly soft cotton bootlace, was much softer and more comfortable around the ear cartilage on the back of the ear. And if you have a loop of it, you can tie it, and then you can tie it tighter or looser or whatever it is, depending on what size of a loop you need to go around your ears. So that was an interesting idea. Now I would also like to have one of those adjustable beads, if possible, so that I could thread the shoelace through the adjustable spring-loaded bead so that I could open up and close up the size of the loop. Plus I'd have a little dangly decorative thing hanging down the back of my ear that would look cute and whatever. So those adjustable beads that we use in jackets and sportswear construction might be a really handy thing to be able to finesse the size and the tightness of the ear loop on the mask. Another thing that I came up with on this prototype was the idea of the nose up here. I sewed an extra sleeve that could contain a wire, and then I sewed the sleeve onto the mask, and so it's a sleeve, and then I blanked off one side of it so that then I could take this wire piece. This is actually what comes on the little 1-pound bags of coffee, designer coffee. This is off of a Pete's coffee bag. And so this has 2 wires in it, plus it's all kind of covered in plastic. And so this is the kind of thing that can slide in here, just like a collar stay for a men's dress shirt. And then it gives you the ability to really custom bend this thing so that it fits really nicely, a good fit on the bridge of the nose, and comes out far enough to rest nicely on the cheeks adjacent to the nose. So that's kind of cool. So ear loops that fit, the sides of the mask that kind of come all the way back to the ears, getting a nose bridge kind of thing in place were some of the innovations that I wanted to play with. But really, what I had to come up with was a better, faster way of constructing this mask. Basically, the idea is to take 2 pieces of fabric that are going to be the 2 sides of the mask, the outside cover of the mask. And you usually put these things front face to front face together, and then you stitch up the area that's going to be the nose piece, the front of the mask. You stitch from here to here, stitching those 2 pieces together. And what I wound up doing was doing that. So that is these 2 pieces, front face to front face, stitched together. Then I have these interior pieces, the liner pieces. On this particular mask, I decided to make them out of the black fabric so that they contrasted. And what I did was I just made a hem along the nose piece, folded that over and stitched it so that I actually had an opening here between the 2 interior pieces. And as I constructed this thing together, I'm going to turn it inside out to show you how it went together. Because those of you who are already sewers and seamstresses and tailors, you've got this all figured out, and you were way ahead of me. But it took me a day to figure this out, plus because I don't like to watch and follow in directions on YouTube videos, it took me a hell of a lot longer to figure this out on my own. But it was taking me hours to construct a mask. But this way, I had my 2 outside cover pieces were sewed together, and then I laid my 2 interior pieces that had the 2 seamed edges, front edges. I just laid them in the mask one at a time, and then I just sewed the edges together. This is finished face is facing finished face, so you've got the unfinished faces of both pieces of fabric pointing outward. So you've got the ugly side and ugly side out, and you've got finished side and finished side in, and all of that got sewed together on this side, and then taking the other interior piece, liner piece, and putting it on this side and sewing that in. And then, as you can see already, if you just reach in through this middle portion and pull this inside out, then you can get to the finished mask. And so I'm going to do that. Again, pulling it inside out so that I've got the finished faces on the outside, and the unfinished faces are then all turned inside, and all of the seams and rough and nasty stuff is concealed inside the mask. And then what we have is a mask that fits very nicely on the face, has a pretty good contour and fit to the face, and also this space in the middle allows you to put a filter mask, a piece of filter stuff in there. Now my idea is that at some point industry is going to catch up with all of this stuff and start creating the N95 material so that it would come almost like coffee filters in a package, and they would be, you know, cut like this and whatever, and so that you could take the N95 filter and insert it into the mask just like a coffee filter, and then you kind of unroll and flatten out the filter inside the mask, and it fills the space inside the mask between the cover and the liner portions of the mask. And then you kind of just push and contour and tuck everything back in together so that you'd have then a cover, a liner, and the liner and cover are containing the filter, the disposable N95 filter, so that a person can wear this comfortably all day long and be breathing through their N95 filter. At the end of the day, this the cover is machine washable, and so you just take the disposable filter and throw it away, wash the mask, and then in the morning you take your laundered mask and put a new filter in it, and then you're good to go. You're ready to rock and roll again. I think something like this is probably going to be evolving over the summer, so that this will be available at venues like state fairs, county fairs. It'll be available in stores, and this is the kind of thing that will allow us to buy 3 or 4 of these things and have them in a rotation, so that we can do laundry and keep a clean mask available for everyday daily use, and be able to go out and re-enter the public sphere once again, masked up and being able to be fairly well protected from airborne virus with a mask like this. Okay, that was way too much information, I know, but I have been developing mask designs and slowly evolving the contours of the mask, actually, especially from, oh, I lost it now. The original mask design idea that comes from the fabric store, or that comes from YouTube channels and stuff like that, this is much more designed for masks that nurses and health providers are going to wear in a clinical setting. So the idea of going from this design to the contours that I'm playing with, I've got my contour drawn, superimposed over the standard mask design, and you can see how it is upswept in the back, and that goes towards the ears, and that gives a little bit of extra length back here so that this can be folded over and folded down to create a loop through which the ear loops or any other kind of tie attachment system that you're going to make for the mask works. Change this a little bit so that the contour is a little bit better, but you have to still design a mask so that there's enough extra margin to accommodate your seams. You got to have a seam allowance all the way around so that this thing can be folded down and sewn into place. Okay, I heard something ding on my computer. I've got to come back and see if there's anybody else I can let into the chat room and open this up for discussion, because I talked way too long already today. So let me get my camera up here. Let me let Elias in here because he's been waiting patiently, and I'm so sorry, Elias. Anybody who has been waiting patiently to try to get in, I want you guys to go and look at the full recording of this thing later on to check out anything you have missed. Okay, I'm going down to the chat, and I'm saying, Zoe says, you can use those things that people use for their glasses. Oh yeah, like a croaky. So those kinds of croaky straps would be a really good way of hanging the mask around the back of your neck or to the back of your head. That's a wonderful idea, Zoe. I think that designers like you guys are going to come up with the innovative concepts and ideas to make these masks move from industrial and clinical uses into a fashion accessory for everybody. And you guys can laugh your ass off about fashion accessory, but I mean, I contacted my 4-H leadership at the county level this morning, and I talked about, you know, as a 4-H project, we could be sewing these masks and making them for the fair. The county fair is in July, and we could have 3,000 masks sewn by then in country and western fabric motifs that the cowboys would love. And so they would come and they'd spend 20 or 30 bucks on a mask that they could wear around, and it would go with their blue jeans and boots and cowboy hat and stuff. And it would be a way that they could get right back into enjoying the public aspects of the fair, going to the rodeo, going to all the exhibition halls, and not worrying quite so much about infection and disease. Zoe says that kind of already were in Korea and Japan. Yes, yes, absolutely. I ordered some of the Korean K-pop kinds of masks off of Amazon last week. They were a month back ordered, but they have fabric masks, very rudimentary fabric masks available for like $4 a piece from Korea. And so they are, you know, mass producing that stuff. My problem with America, I don't have a problem with America, but the challenge in America is that we have lost so much of our industrial capacity that we don't have the ability to create and sew these things here. And so a lot of our designers make this stuff and try to find a factory to produce it overseas, mostly in Asia. And sure, they get sewn and they get shipped back here. But it'd be kind of nice to kind of regrow our own domestic production in lots of areas, including fashion and sportswear and clothing, so that we could have the capacity to make this stuff. Elliot's here, and I'm going to let him in. We got 23 participants in the meeting. I'd like to open it up to anybody who has been playing with mask designs over the weekend that might have another idea that they would like to show, another generation of mask that they may have been working on that they want to play with. Or if Zoe just wants to talk for a little while, she's got lots of good ideas and is sharing them in the chat already. This is cool. Where do we submit the pictures of our mask? Andrew asks. I want you to send that to me in my email. I'm sorry I haven't been able to get into the e-learning platform to create a new place in our coursework to upload your lab report. Basically, your lab report would be a paragraph on what you learned or experienced during the process and a selfie photo of you and your mask. So I want some version of that either to come to me in my email or to get turned in maybe eventually in e-learning just as soon as I get that back up and running again. I'm going to run through our photographs here just to, or what do you call these, head boxes? What do we call these, head squares where everybody's online? I just was wondering if anybody's like raising their hand or wants to get in here with any kind of a share for something that they might have been playing with over the weekend. Where do I go with this thing? How do I get to the next level? I don't know. You'd think that I would have this figured out by now. Anybody want to unmute your mic and talk? And otherwise, I have about 10 minutes where I can start to go to the next idea of project. This is going to be kind of a messy transition from one project to the next, but they kind of, this is how we're improvising things with our online projects. Okay. I'm going to go to a screen share and take you to the next big project that I want to work with. This is going to be kind of a challenge for you guys because we're in the middle of a pandemic and everything is shut down. I don't even know if the place where I got my materials is going to be open. So this is going to be kind of a soft opening to this thing as I go out into the community and visit these stores and businesses and see what's available. But anyway, let's try this and see. Okay, there's nobody else waiting. I'm going to do a screen share here. Okay. And so where is my PowerPoint? Okay. I am screen sharing. Hey, fantastic. Good for me. Wow, what a deal. Okay. Now, if I could just figure out how to turn on my PowerPoint, that'd be fantastic. So can you guys see this PowerPoint thing here? I'm already there. All right. I've got a whole bunch of junk on my screen, and so it's hard for me to even read my own writing here. The next big project, one of the staples of 3D design projects at the college level is building something larger than life or life size and building it out of fairly inexpensive materials to make it accessible to students, but also to mimic what we do as 3D designers in industry. We usually do mock-ups and models, and we build things out of relatively inexpensive materials because they are really good analogs for the kinds of materials we would work with in production when we're producing items for sale and for market. And so this is called the cardboard chair. So without any further ado, we would be looking at building chairs out of cardboard, and we're going to be looking at chair design and especially chair proportions, because there are some basic proportions for furniture design that we have to take into account. Furniture design goes back to the idea of ergonomics. Ergonomics is where you build things to fit the human person so that it can be a very comfortable, well-proportioned design that absolutely fits. And one of those basic ideas about furniture design is that a chair seat height is 17 inches off the ground. It has grown a little bit over the centuries. They used to build chairs about 15 inches off the ground for the top of the seat height. But we have been growing as people, our nutrition is getting better. And so now the comfortable seat height for most people is around 17 inches in seat height from ground to the top surface of the seat. You may also find seats becoming contoured a lot more. The contours of seats are usually curved so that they can more comfortably support a person's bottom when they sit in them. And chair seats are also usually contoured where they are just slightly higher at the front edge of the seat, going back at a tiny diagonal to the rear of the seat. There might be a ½ inch difference where the front edge of the seat might be a ½ inch taller than the rear of the seat. Again, providing a little bit more support, a little bit more contour. So this slide illustrates the idea of cross slot construction. And this is a mainstay of cardboard design and cardboard construction. It's fun to do, and it's this basic idea that if you have two pieces of cardboard that are intersecting each other, if you cut a slot halfway up into one, and if you cut a slot halfway down into the other one, and then you slide the two slots together, they will cross each other, and you'll get full intersection, interaction, intercourse between the two pieces of cardboard. And you can kind of see that well illustrated in a chair like this. It also takes advantage of the strength of cardboard Cardboard is this corrugated paper that has two outer surfaces of flat paper and then an inner kind of corrugation of the paper zigzagging back and forth between the two outer pieces that sandwich it together. And this creates a really strong kind of a situation structurally for the cardboard. It's a great way of supporting weight. It's a great way of dissipating weight and distributing weight over a surface area. And these are all things that sound like engineering and that they sound really hard to do, but we don't have to do any of the figuring. We don't have to do any of the mathematics. We just have to have a gut understanding about that we're distributing weight and that we're supporting weight with cardboard. So I'm going to keep going here, see if I can find another slide to work with. Here's a variety of student chair designs. So we can kind of see that chairs will follow the basic ideas of a chair, with a chair seat, some kind of legs to support the weight of the person, some kind of a seat back to be able to support the back of a person leaning into the seat back, and then sometimes even arms in a chair to support the arms of the person sitting in the chair. Those are some of the basic structural components of a chair that you can have in consideration as you're designing a chair. But you can see by all of these different examples that you can approach this in a variety of different ways. You can be very structural and very traditional in your approach to a chair. You can be way outside of the box. Forgive the pun, especially when dealing with cardboard, with chair design. And so the shape, the outer shape and contours that the chair takes can be completely up to you. I've got 8 minutes left in the chat. Okay, I'm going to try to wrap this up pretty soon. Chairigami. The idea of being able to use origami kinds of techniques to actually fold a large sheet of cardboard into a structurally sound, weight-bearing system that might even be beautiful and have an aesthetically pleasing quality is a big, interesting new thing that a lot of people are doing with chair design. Some of these are commercially available designs that I'm showing you. Others are student designs, but the concept of chairigami is kind of cute and kind of cool. So any of you who have done origami, at all in the past might be interested in making this project into a chairigami kind of a project if you want to. Let's see. Nobody else is waiting to get in. Everybody says hi. Okay, so we're going to go to the next one. Okay, here's another chairigami design from a Rhode Island School of Design student. RISD stands for Rhode Island School of Design, a very famous design school on the East Coast. The 3D design classes are way out there in terms of challenging students to play with different kinds of ideas and bring them together into new and wonderful and innovative ways. And so the idea of origami and putting that together with the idea of a folded cardboard chair is kind of fun. And so that's possible out there. If you use the search terms cardboard chair or cardboard chair project, especially if you include the word project, cardboard chair project, in a Google image search, you'll be able to see a ton of these ideas, which will spur your imagination and get you thinking about what you might be able to construct in a cardboard chair. I got 6 minutes left. You might want to consider things like box beams. Box beams and wrapped forms, curving wrapped forms, wrapping around reinforcement might give you guys a really nice way of making more elegant solutions. You can also see the uprights in this chair happen to be 2 or 3 layers of cardboard all glued and sandwiched together to make a super strong couple of leg and support areas on either side of the chair. You can see the box beam concept revealed in the side cuts of the chair, where the seat has several reinforcing straps or strings of cardboard running through the center of the chair, and yet the outside contour and surface of the chair seat and back are curved, and they look fairly comfortable and comforting to actually sit in. You can also see slotted construction for the kind of X-shaped supports underneath the seat of the chair that again are really good for transmitting the load bearing from the chair seat all the way down to the floor to make sure that the chair doesn't collapse. Our big idea is to say that, you know, we want to build a chair that does not fall apart when you sit into it. So that's going to be a big part of this design. I've got 4 minutes left. Some of these designs are even available commercially. This is a commercially available kit that you could probably get at an IKEA store or online or something like that. I love the design concept of this. It feels soft. It has flowing, contoured shapes in it, and yet it's all about the cross-slot construction concept. I love the fact that this thing does not even have a covering or surface contour, that it's the complete concept of this chair is its skeletal design, and that like a bed of nails, that it would support you just because it's supporting you every 3 inches or so at a contact point, where 2 planes of cardboard are cross-slotted together and transmitting all of the load of your weight to the ground. Or in the case of the back of the chair, they are working together in an integrated way to support your back when you lean into the back of the chair. It's a lovely concept. I love the fact that shape can even try to transmit to the viewer the idea of softness, roundness, and comfort, even if you're still dealing with materials that are edgy and, you know, making a kind of strange contact with your body. Psychologically, it gives the idea of softness and roundness, which I really think is a wonderful mixing of shape and construction with this chair. Let's see, I got 2 minutes left. That was my last slide. So basically, I'm going to stop my screen share and come back to you guys and get the gallery view going on here so that everybody's on. Just to say, we're going to try to work into this project. I have a large trailer load full of cardboard that I got from the local furniture store. And I'm going to urge all of you guys to try to go to your local furniture store or appliance store, because they always have a bunch of large cardboard boxes that all of the furniture or appliances have shipped in. They usually just flatten them out and they've got them saved up for recycling. And so I've been to the local furniture store and I got a whole bunch of those boxes. I'm going back this afternoon to see if they're open and to see if they will work with me to help me furnish you guys with cardboard. Anybody in the Coos Bay area, I will try to help facilitate getting you cardboard. And if you can't pick it up at the school, I may even deliver it to you if you make that request of me. Those of you who are outside the Coos Bay area, you're going to have to go to your own local furniture or appliance store to try to salvage some cardboard. If you can get the equivalent of about 2 or 3 large boxes, that's a lot of cardboard to take home, but will give you plenty of material to work with for chair design. I'm just checking to see if there's any other questions in the chat. And does the chair have to be big enough to sit in? Yes. That's the whole idea of this baby, is that it's going to be an actual piece of furniture in your house that will support your weight, that you're going to get to sit in. And when it's done, I want you to take a selfie of it with you sitting in the chair to show that it's actually, you know, something that is comfortable and supporting your weight, and that you're enjoying quite a bit after you get done building it. So that's going to be the thing. This is going to be at least a 2-week project. So I've got less than a minute left. I want to probably just say goodbye at this point, but we will have at least 2 weeks, and we'll see what happens at the end of 2 weeks, how far we get on this. And I will build a chair along with you guys to do a demonstration along the way. From Coos Bay, from Eden Hall, I want to say goodbye for now, and I will see you guys again on Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in today. Bye-bye. meeting. Oh my gosh.